This is weird. Where should I start? My hair is a mess today. Hello, friends, family, strangers on YouTube. How are you doing? This is my first vlog. I've been having a lot of people ask me about what's going on in my life, what's new, any updates, and after you repeat yourself for like the 20th time, you don't remember what you tell people, and it gets kind of old. I wanted to start making YouTube videos just to reach out to my friends and family and direct them to a place where I don't have to type out the same story on Facebook 90 times. So here we are. Where do I start? I have a tumor. As many of you know, I am going in for an elective amputation on Tuesday, April 2nd. I am actually really excited about it. I know a lot of people have mixed feelings because elective amputations are a very touchy subject, but I'm here for my very first vlog to share my story. All right, so I joined boot camp. You can see my campus. Look, they're all hung up. So nice. I went to boot camp in May 2017. I started getting pain in my right foot. And this was very strange for me because I did ballet my entire life. Like from 3 to 18, I did ballet and jazz and tap and, everything. Started getting into yoga, doing West Coast swing, other types of ballroom dance. So just a very active individual. When I first started feeling pain in my foot, I went to my senior drill instructor's office, and I'm in recruit mode at this point. So this is kind of briefly how it happened. So I knocked on her hatch. She goes, "What?" "I, ma'am. Recruit Huts are requesting permission to speak to senior drill instructor, Staff Sergeant Cousins, ma'am." "What do you want, hustler?" "I, ma'am. This recruit requests to go to medical." "Why?" "This recruit has pain in her right foot, ma'am, that she has never felt in her whole life, and she is concerned that she may have a broken foot, ma'am." And I'm gonna stop there because, I'm really bad at acting. But basically what happened is she told me that she's not gonna tell me I can't go to medical, but she did tell me that I am just being weak. She told me that I'm working harder than I ever have in my whole life, and that I'm just being weak, and pain is weakness leaving the body. That's a really big Marine Corps quote. So I kept that mindset, and I finished boot camp with that mindset. Went on to Marine combat training, where I kept that mindset and was popping ibuprofen. Oh, I sound like a drug addict. Before every single run, and after runs actually. Told myself I was being weak. And I went on to the schoolhouse where I learned my MOS, and within a couple months, I was falling out of a formation run, which is where everybody was running together. I was falling out of a slow formation run. My sergeant called me over, and I limped over to him. He said, "Hustler, you good?" I said, "Yes, Sergeant, I'm just being weak." Then he went into this whole story about how you have one body and you need to take care of it because you're never going to get another body. "You're forcing me to go to medical, aren't you?" I said, "Go get it checked out." So that brings us to November 8th, 2017. On November 8th, they took an x-ray of my foot, said, "You have a stress fracture. Here's a walking boot." I wore that walking boot and did everything that I could while I was recovering, and hated it. I absolutely hated the walking boot, but I followed doctor's orders because I've heard from several people that if you don't follow doctor's orders, that's going to affect things when you get out, and it's noted that you didn't follow the doctor's orders. Came back at the end of December. They are like, "Cool, you're healed." Okay. A couple days later, I ran a PFT, which my Marine Corps friends know all about. My civilian friends don't know. A PFT is pull-ups, crunches, and a 3-mile run. I thought I had a stress fracture this whole time, so I'm like, oh, I've run a PFT on a stress fracture. This is going to be easy. We all go, and I'm running faster than I've ever run, and I'm keeping up with the guys, which was really big for me. I was never a good runner. Keeping up with the guys, first mile down, right over 6 minutes. Fastest mile I've ever run in my entire life. And then the pain hit. The last 2 miles of the run took me 24 minutes. I came in right under 30 minutes, which is the limit for females. I was basically crying by the end of the second mile, and I didn't want to keep going. I was in so much pain. I went back to medical, and they said, if you had a stress fracture, it should have healed. So we're going to put you non-weight bearing, give me some crutches, and ordered an MRI for me. The MRI took 3 weeks to schedule, so I had an MRI at the end of January 23rd, and The next day, they called me. Is this PFC Hustler? Yes, ma'am. We need you to come back in for another MRI. I was confused. Why do you need another MRI? Well, the doctor probably just saw something and he just wants a clear picture, so we're going to do MRI with contrast. And then February 1st, got promoted to Lance Corporal that day. I had my first orthopedic appointment. My doctor asked me when I first walked in, did they tell you the results of your MRI? They told me that I had an indeterminate calcification between my second and third metatarsal due to an untreated stress fracture. Stress fracture? Who told you you had a stress fracture? Every doctor before you. You've never had a stress fracture. Here, look at your images. But you do have a tumor. Don't freak out. I just got told I have a tumor. Why would I freak out? Said tumors aren't always a bad thing. Most people associate tumors with cancer. Tumors just a mass growing where it shouldn't be. He sent me down to a civilian provider because in 29 Palms he didn't have any oncologists, which are cancer doctors, tumor doctors really. Had my first doctor who immediately told me, no, I'm not going to do the surgery. Going to be a nightmare for both of us was her exact words. Sent me to interventional radiology. March of 2018, doctor said, hey, we're going to try something called sclerotherapy, typically used for women with varicose veins. Sclerosis or closes off the veins and whatever's feeding into the varicose veins, or in my case, my tumor. They injected what they call a detergent, but it's just a solution of crazy chemicals. I don't really know. They injected my tumor directly with this medication, and it's supposed to kill my tumor basically from the inside out because now blood's not flowing into it. Immediately after surgery, I was in a ton of pain. I asked for my crutches, and they're like, why do you need crutches? I'm like, there's no way I can walk on it. I was in so much pain. And they're like, this is surgery you're supposed to walk out of. I'm like, there's no way I can walk out of this. And so I was actually non-weight bearing for 2 weeks on heavy drugs. But basically what happened is I came back for checkup. I was in so much pain. My pain had worsened. My swelling had worsened. The tumor actually got bigger, which, how'd that happen? Nobody knows. Doc, I need this tumor removed. So he sent me back to my original doctor, who was still against the surgery, but she did agree to do a biopsy. Why we hadn't done a biopsy yet, beyond me. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. The morning of June 12th, I got to the operating room. It was about 5 a.m. when I got there. We had to leave the barracks from 29 Palms at about 2 a.m. to get there at 5. I'm sitting there in the pre-operation room. Doctor comes in and says, all right, we're doing an open biopsy and a resection of your right foot tumor. I said, a resection? And she said, yes, your foot's already going to be open. We might as well take it out. And I'm like, you weren't comfortable doing this surgery before. I don't want you touching my foot. And then I'm like, I need to call my case manager. I called her. I said, I don't want her touching my foot. That basically, I have all the right to refuse doctor treatment. If I refuse doctor's treatment, it will be noted in my medical records. For the military, that's really hard because, like I said earlier, if you refuse doctor's treatment, that can affect you getting out. And I was terrified at that point that I was going to get administrative separation if I refused for this doctor to operate on my foot. I said, okay, let's do it. And so she operated on my foot on June 12th. They removed the top portion of the tumor, ran into an artery, and tried opening up the bottom of my foot, but according to notes, they could not find the tumor. They could not find the tumor. Anyways, like I said, I'm not a doctor. They stitched me back up, set me up for another surgery. 3 days before the next surgery. This next part I'm going to include a couple images that may not be very tasteful for a lot of my viewers. I'll put in a link for when it's all over if you don't want to see any gross feet pictures, videos, whatever, especially for you, Grandpa. So I show up to the ER because my foot looked like this. And I honestly thought that my ankle was just sprained. It looks like an infection, but back if it gets worse. The next day, my foot looks like this. That's not normal. But they told me, you're not running a fever, your white blood cell count is normal. Went back to my normal doctor on Monday, and she said, you need to be inpatient. You have a serious infection, you need to go back. So she arranged that I actually got admitted, and it turns out that I had not only cellulitis, which is pretty good skin infection, I had a staph infection. So immediately my doctors wanted to send me back to the doctor that operated on my foot in the first place. She said, "You have an appointment in 2 weeks, I'll see you then." We got an infectious disease doctor, and he drained my foot. Watch this video. And so after he drained my foot, he's like, "No, you need to operate on her." So they shipped me all the way back up to good old Loma Linda, California. Get my foot cut open once again by a doctor that, once again, I didn't really trust in the first place. They gave me my first PICC line to give me antibiotics. And a PICC line is basically a catheter that goes in through your arm to your heart, so you can have antibiotics that are a little bit too heavy for your veins, and you're getting them very, very frequently. So it's easier for it to infuse through your body. A couple days after having my PICC line, they said, "You're fine. We'll just put you on oral antibiotics. You're fine." Took out my PICC line, put me on oral antibiotics. I think it was a week or two, and I went back to my infectious disease doctor. He said, "Good news. Your white blood cell count is normal and you're not running a fever." So they stopped my antibiotics. 4 days later, I show up to the ER because my foot looks like this. And basically the same thing happened with the nothing's wrong, until my doctor finally arranged for me to be admitted with osteomyelitis, which means the cellulitis spread to my bones. Anyways, at this point I begged for a new doctor because I didn't trust my doctor at that point. So I got a new doctor, and he sent me out to San Antonio to get a special brace made, which I will show you more about in the next video. The IDEO brace is the Intrepid Dynamic Exoskeleton Orthosis, and it basically is normally for people with ankle injuries, but it helps take off the weight of your foot and puts it into a knee like a prosthetic would. It's a limb salvage prosthetic. So basically at this point, my leg was useless. I couldn't walk on it. I was on crutches, knee scooters, wheelchairs, wasn't walking. So they gave me this. Hated it. Gave it a chance. I did give it a chance, but it's not for my injury. And I just was in so much pain. And yes, a lot of you have seen videos of me running. A lot of you have seen videos or pictures of me when I snowboarded. But what you don't know is I was on a lot of medication to make that happen. And I was in a ton of pain, and it was very, very short distances, very, very short time periods. And I was in pain the whole time. And I was just stubborn, and I wanted to make it work. But after a while, you realize that you can only push your body so far. At that point, I came back. "Hey, Lance Corporal Hetzler, your time is running out. We need to separate you from the military because you are basically useless to us." That was a hard conversation in itself. So on January 3rd, they put me on my med board. A couple weeks later, I emailed my doctor, said, "No, I can't do this." I'm like, "I am in so much pain. I need something to happen before I get out. I can't wait the 8 months it takes to be medically separated to get another doctor to figure out what's wrong with me. I need something to happen now." And it's been a very, very long process. But last week I got an email saying I got the approval to stop your med board and to do your transtibial amputation. Here we are, 6 days from now. I am getting my limb salvage limb finally taken off. I personally am ecstatic, and I understand that it's really hard for a lot of you to understand that, but that's a whole different discussion that I'll try to explain maybe in another video. But I just kind of wanted to give my story, my background, what's going on in my life, and I hope that I can keep making these videos and update, and I'll for sure make a video of me going into surgery and waking up from surgery. I think those videos are hilarious. But thanks for watching. I hope you guys come back for more videos.